Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. I didn't expect him to come home early. The house was quiet, humming with that soft afternoon glow that makes you feel like time has paused just for a moment. I stood in front of the mirror, towel sliding just above the curve of my back, damp hair clinging to my shoulders as I slowly ran my fingers through the strands, lost in thought. The scent of lavender shampoo still lingered in the air, warm and heavy. I tilted slightly, arching my back as I leaned closer to inspect a faint freckle on my collarbone, completely unaware of the soundless creak of the door behind me. Then, like a whisper in a dream, I heard it. My name. Low. Rough. Breathless. Like it had been pulled straight from the edge of something forbidden. A shiver kissed my spine. I turned, startled, my breath catching mid-air. He was there, leaning against the doorframe, his hand still gripping the handle like he wasn't sure if he should have opened it. His eyes locked with mine, lingering just a second too long on the curve of my bare shoulder. He didn't look away. Neither did I. The air between us shifted, thick, electric. My heartbeat thudded loud enough I was sure he could hear it. He took a step in. Slow. Measured. I should have said something. Should have told him to leave. But I didn't. His gaze dropped to the strand of wet hair I was twisting around my finger, then back to my lips. You always do this when you think you're alone, he asked, half teasing, half something else entirely. I smiled, but it was nervous. Curious. Maybe, I replied, my voice a little softer than I meant it to be. Another step. We were close now. Too close. He reached out, just barely, his fingers brushing mine as he tucked a wet strand behind my ear. That single touch was enough to make the air feel 10 degrees hotter. My skin tingled where he'd touched it. He looked at me like he was reading a page he wasn't supposed to see. I opened my mouth to speak, but before I could, the front door slammed. We both froze. Someone else was home. And just like that, the moment broke, but the tension stayed. The silence that followed the slammed door felt louder than any scream. I wrapped the towel tighter around me, my breath caught somewhere between shock and something I didn't want to name. He stepped back like reality had just reminded him where we stood, and who we were. But even as his eyes dropped, avoiding mine, the air still buzzed with something unspoken. Later that evening, I found him in the kitchen, headphones in, pretending to focus on his laptop, though the screen hadn't changed in 10 minutes. I leaned against the counter, sipping tea that had long gone cold, and watched him. He wasn't a boy anymore. That part had snuck up on me. After his father and I married, we had tried to blend our families. Dinners together, awkward game nights, trying to find footing in a house that echoed with the ghosts of previous love stories. His father, he was distant, always working, always distracted. The kind of man who provided everything but presents. I used to wait for his attention. Dress up. Cook his favorite meals. Smile through the emptiness. But over time, silence became our third roommate. He noticed. He always noticed. When I forgot how to laugh, it was him who cracked silly jokes at breakfast just to pull a smile from my lips. When I started spending longer hours at home, curling up on the couch alone with wine and old movies, it was his shadow I'd catch lingering from the hallway, just watching. And somewhere along the way, watching turned into something else. Not long ago, I walked into the living room late at night to find him asleep on the couch, my favorite book in his hand. When I gently tried to take it, his fingers curled around mine in his sleep. I didn't pull away. I just watched him breathe. Now, across from me in this quiet kitchen, he finally looked up. His eyes met mine, and for a second, just a second, it was like the hallway again. That slow burn of a glance, that pause between thought and touch. My heart picked up speed. I'm not a kid anymore, he said, almost to himself, but loud enough for me to hear. I knew what he meant. I just didn't know what to say. So I looked down, stirring a spoon in an empty cup. And I stayed. Dinner was awkward. His father sat at the head of the table, talking about a new project at work, something big, something that meant more late nights. I smiled where I was supposed to. Nodded. Laughed softly. But I felt it, the heat of his gaze across the table. He didn't speak much. Just pushed his food around with his fork, eyes lifting now and then to meet mine when no one else noticed. Except I noticed. Every time. Then he said it, like a spark tossed into dry air. Funny how some people only notice you when someone else does. His father blinked, confused. What? Nothing, he mumbled, brushing it off. But my heart thudded. After dinner, I carried the dishes into the kitchen alone. I could feel him follow. The click of the door shutting behind us was soft, but it echoed. Is that why you wore that dress? He asked. I froze. It was a silky burgundy wrap, one I hadn't worn in months. His father had barely looked at it. But he had. Excuse me? I said, trying to stay composed. He stepped closer, eyes intense. You knew it would drive me insane. You knew, didn't you? I should have walked away. Should have told him to stop. But my breath hitched, and the bowl I was drying stayed still in my hands. Why are you doing this? I whispered. He didn't answer. Instead, his eyes dropped to my lips, then my collarbone, then back to my eyes with a longing so raw it made my chest ache. You let him ignore you like you don't matter. But I see you, he said, voice low, tight. I feel you even when you're not near me. I turned, placing the bowl down before it slipped from my hands. We can't, I murmured. He didn't touch me, but the closeness between us crackled with everything unsaid. The pull, the ache, the temptation that had been growing like a flame under skin. Then the hallway light clicked on. Footsteps. And just like that, distance. Masks. Composure. But something had already shifted. The storm outside had come without warning, rain lashing against the windows, thunder rumbling like a heartbeat beneath the walls. The lights flickered once, then went out. I lit a candle in the hallway, the soft flicker casting golden light over the quiet house. Everyone else was out for the evening, his father stuck at work, dinner plans cancelled. Except he was here. And so was I. I found him in the living room, leaning against the window frame, watching the rain fall like it held all the answers we were trying not to ask. He didn't turn when I stepped in. It's quiet, he said. It's dangerous, I whispered back, not sure if I meant the storm or us. He turned then, slowly. The candlelight caught the sharp lines of his jaw, the way his shirt clung to him just a little from the walk home in the rain. His eyes searched mine, deeper this time. No teasing. No games. Are you scared? He asked, voice low. Yes, I answered honestly. He stepped closer. Of me? Of us. The silence wrapped around us like a second skin. And then, as the thunder cracked loud above us, the lights flickered again. Off. On. Off. We both laughed softly, nervous, breathless, and in that sliver of darkness, I felt him reach for me. Fingertips brushed my wrist. Light. Testing. Then firmer. Tell me to stop, he said. But I didn't. He pulled me gently toward him, his hand now fully at my waist. The warmth of his palm through the thin fabric of my blouse was dizzying. His forehead touched mine, breath shallow, lips just a whisper away. I dream about this, he murmured. And I hate myself for it, but I still dream. I closed my eyes. So did I. Then, the sound of a car pulling into the driveway. We broke apart like the air itself had shattered. Footsteps on the front porch. Keys at the door. One last glance, one last look that said everything we couldn't say out loud. And then, darkness again. The storm had passed, but the tension hadn't. The house was still, unnaturally quiet. His father had returned and gone straight to bed, exhausted. One glass of wine, one long sigh, and silence. I stayed up, pretending to read, but my eyes hadn't moved past the same paragraph in over 30 minutes. Then I heard it, soft footsteps. He entered the room slowly, careful not to make a sound. His shirt had been changed, his hair still damp, his eyes darker than usual. "I couldn't sleep," he said, voice barely above a whisper. "Me neither." He didn't ask to sit. He just did. Right next to me. The space between us barely a breath. "You felt it too, didn't you?" he asked. I didn't answer. I couldn't. "Ever since that night, the mirror," he continued. "You haven't been the same." Neither have I. I finally looked at him. His jaw was clenched, like he was holding back more than words. "I can't do this," I whispered, though I didn't move away. "But you already are," he replied, his voice heavy with truth. He reached for my hand. Slowly. Carefully. Like it might burn him. But I didn't pull away. The moment swelled between us, heartbeats loud, breath caught. He leaned in, and this time, I didn't stop him. But just as his lips brushed mine, soft, slow, almost reverent, a voice echoed from the hallway. I knew it. We froze. His father stood there, eyes wild with disbelief and something deeper, betrayal. He stepped into the room, staring not at me, but at him. "You told me nothing was going on," he said, his voice breaking. "I trusted you." My breath caught. I stood up. "Wait, just listen." "No," he cut in. "You think I didn't notice? The way you look at her? The way she lets you?" Then the twist unraveled. His eyes turned to me. Cold. Calculated. "You're not the first." Silence. Crushing. Sharp. "What?" I whispered. His father stepped closer, rage and resentment boiling to the surface. "You think I didn't know you were lonely? That I didn't see you looking for someone to notice you?" He laughed bitterly. "Guess I just didn't expect it to be my son." The world tilted. He turned and walked away, slamming the door behind him. We were left there, in the soft lamplight, hearts racing, guilt choking the air. He looked at me. "I don't care," he said. "Even now. I still want you." I closed my eyes. And whispered the words I wasn't supposed to say. So do I. The next morning, the house felt like a battlefield. Coffee brewed, untouched. Plates sat on the counter, ignored. The storm outside had cleared, but inside, everything was still unsettled. I stood by the window, arms crossed, watching the sunrise with a knot in my chest. The guilt, the fear, the longing, it all sat heavy, impossible to shake off. Footsteps approached. "You should talk to him," I said before turning. He stopped behind me. What would I even say? That I love the one woman he was supposed to trust me with? I turned slowly to face him. That you didn't plan this. That neither of us did. But we let it happen, he said, voice breaking. And now he'll never look at either of us the same. I stepped closer, searching his eyes for something, clarity, strength, or maybe just courage. What we feel, it's not wrong, I said softly. But the way it happened, it hurt people. He nodded, jaw clenched, eyes glistening. I'll leave if that's what you want. Before I could answer, his father walked into the room. Silence. Tense. Cold. Final. I want the truth, he said, staring straight at me. I swallowed hard. We never meant for it to happen. It started with looks. Moments. Then, it became more. He turned to his son, eyes narrowed. You knew how unhappy she was. And instead of helping her, I did help her, he snapped. I was there when you weren't. The words cut deep. His father reeled, anger mixing with pain. Then leave. Both of you. You've made your choice. I stepped forward, tears welling. We didn't choose this to hurt you. But you did, he said coldly. And now you have to live with that. He left. Just like that. We stood there, stunned. Minutes passed. He turned to me, voice trembling. Do you still want me? Even now? I hesitated, eyes burning, heart racing. Yes, I whispered. I do. He stepped closer. Took my hand. Then let's leave. Start over. Somewhere no one knows our names. I looked toward the hallway, empty now. The house we once tried to build now felt like a memory crumbling around us. I nodded slowly. Okay. They walked out the front door, together. Into the unknown. Into the freedom they weren't sure they deserved, but were finally brave enough to choose. To be continued, or is it the beginning? They didn't run far. Just far enough to breathe. 2 months later, they were in a small coastal town where no one asked questions. Where the waves erased footprints as quickly as they were made, and the salty wind carried more peace than judgment. They rented a quiet house near the cliffs, white curtains fluttering like whispers at every window. The mornings began with silence, comfortable now. He'd brew her tea, and she'd leave little notes on his sketchbook. The chaos they left behind no longer echoed in every room. It had become a lesson. A scar. But not a cage. One afternoon, she stood on the porch, wind in her hair, sunlight painting her skin gold. He watched her from the doorway, leaning there like he never wanted to look away again. I didn't think we'd make it, she said, smiling without looking at him. But we did. She turned. Do you ever miss it? The life before? He shook his head slowly, stepping toward her. No. Because even then, I only ever wanted you. There were no grand declarations. No fireworks. Just a quiet moment, a kiss that started soft, then deepened with all the things they hadn't said. The kind of kiss that said we survived. The kind of kiss that said we're home now. Later, as the sun dipped below the horizon, he wrapped a blanket around her shoulders and pulled her into his lap on the porch swing. Her head rested against his chest, listening to the rhythm of a heart that had once beat in confusion, but now pulsed with certainty. I used to think love came with rules, she murmured. He brushed a kiss against her temple. Maybe it just comes with courage. She smiled, eyes closed. No more hiding. No more pretending. Just the two of them, battered, brave, and finally, together. And that's how the story ends. Not with a goodbye. But with a beginning.